Welcome to the Ricky Matthews Show. Appreciate you joining us as we come to you from the Citizens Bank studio. So proud to be here. So happy to have them as a primary sponsor of this show. And thrilled to continue to celebrate the men and women who are working so hard to make Mississippi such a great place to live, work, and play. Hey, listen, no big speeches to give today and no big quotes to give because I really want to jump into the show. I have at the first part of my show my friend Linda Hornsby, who's the executive director for Mississippi Hotel and Lodging Association. And in the second half of the show, Carrie Duncan's going to be joining me. Carrie, as you know, recently announced she'll be leaving WLOX as the chief meteorologist there. And we're going to hear more from her about this change in life that she's going to be going through. So without any further ado, let me welcome my friend Linda Hornsby back to the Ricky Matthews Show. How you doing, Linda?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Ricky.
What I do is I go in and I do a quick search and find out when was the last time you were on this show.
Oh, it's been a while.
I'm going to actually do that now. Hornsby. It's been January 23.
No way.
It's been a year. Listen, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, Cammie contacted me, but somehow we couldn't put the times together, and so.
Well, given the role that you and your organization plays, not just in coastal Mississippi but across the state, I'm amazed that much time has passed since you and I last talked because, things are happening fast and furious in your world. So how are things going? As you talk to hotel operators across the state, what's the mood these days?
Going well. Of course, we're always looking to the future so they can be even better because you can never rest on your laurels. You have to always be one step ahead. We're watching advertising and marketing funds closely. Both, by the state as well as local municipalities. And so we're ever watchful of that because usually we're the funders of that. In more cases than not, those are funded by a room tax.
Yeah. So how's that going? Is it all coming together the way you would want it to come together?
It's never enough. We're sorely behind, our competitors, but stretching a penny as far as you can. What we are cognizant of, and I know everybody thinks that we're anti-competition, but we're not. But third-party marketplace operators such as Airbnb, and that's a prime example. I'm not picking on them, but there is a lot. I'm going to be kind and say there's a lot of ambiguity in whether those properties, which are usually just one property, owned by a mom and pop or whatever, whether they're paying the room tax. We've tried our best to go after it, to express the importance of that, and the reason it becomes so important to us is, number one, as that segment grows, and it is growing, as it grows, then it cuts down on the growth of the traditional lodging establishments. So if that segment that's growing so quickly is not paying their share of the room taxes, then the recipients, the beneficiaries of those, the advertising and marketing, or whether it's bricks and mortar, whatever it is, they're going to go after more money, and they're going to tap the low-hanging fruit, and that's the typical traditional lodging establishments, and that's good.
So I hear clearly what you're saying. It's you're not pushing back on the reality that Airbnb is kind of part of the overall universe that most communities, most tourism markets are dealing with these days. But that given that our marketing funds are derived from the hotel tax, it's incredibly important that the full universe of rentals in the tourism space pay the appropriate fee to make sure we're marketing for the good of all.
Correct.
So, yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it's part of the changing marketplace. So what are the provisions in place now to be sure that those taxes are being paid?
Yeah, 2 or 3 years ago, the Mississippi legislature passed basically it was a clarification bill because it was already in place with the DOR's policies and definitions of what a lodging is. But it says whoever collects the money needs to be responsible for collecting all applicable taxes and paying them to the state of Mississippi. And we're just finding in more instances than not that that's not happening, whether it's confusion or just an act of commission. They're for instance, Airbnb, they at one time they were not collecting any taxes at all, and if they collected the revenue, then they said they leave it up to the host, which is the owner, to pay the taxes. Well, that's not even feasible because they don't even meet the guest. In some cases, they have lock boxes, and how are they going to collect they don't have to collect the guests' credit card information. And so then they corrected that. Airbnb went in and determined what the general sales tax is in each of the 50 states and elsewhere. It's not just the United States, but they and so they implemented that. They put that into their template for collecting money. Then there is a line for special use taxes, and they leave it up to the host to determine what those are in any given city, county, state, and they're not doing it. They don't know of any. There's just somebody that's renting out a house that they inherited or a house they used to live in, and they're not in the tax business, and so they don't know. And so that's. And
hey, could a tweak in the legislation actually require a third-party websites to capture that information?
Well, they, it's look at how many municipalities, counties, cities we have in Mississippi alone, and A, they're not willing to do it, and B, they're not being forced to do it. They have agreements, and not just Airbnb, but some other third parties have agreements that they cannot be audited. Now, that's the enforcement arm of a traditional hotel paying the tax, because if there is any suspicion or even just routine audits, the state comes in and audits the hotel and then tells them you failed to pay to collect room taxes on this segment, like resort fees.
Yeah.
That most recently, and so then they have to. The hotel can't go back and collect it, but they sure do have to pay it. And so that audit is the singular enforcement arm of the DOR, and it's not happening with these third parties.
It seemed to me that the Casino Operators Association, various municipalities and counties of coastal Mississippi, combined with coastal Mississippi tourism, some large effort like that could create the kind of pressure that says, well, this is just about collecting a due tax that is used for marketing purposes for coastal Mississippi. You would think that we could all get on the same wavelength about that and push hard for that.
Yeah, well, we are all working together, but it's just we hear that there's not enough staff to conduct these audits, even if there weren't agreements in place, and there are, to say that they are not going to audit them. But even if that were not the case, they just don't have the staff.
Yeah.
Judy Young has done a great job in identifying the situation and what can be done, what can't be done. And it's millions and millions of dollars being left on the table. And
wow.
We, Mississippi, cannot afford that.
Yeah, that amount of money was not on my plate. It's something that I'll make a special note of and zero in on and talk a little bit more about that for sure. Yeah. So, let's talk about the Mississippi Gulf Coast for a second. When you talk about operators in coastal Mississippi, what's your read on the climate, the business climate in coastal Mississippi at the moment?
Well, at the moment, January 17th, this is our downtime, but on the coast. But we overall have done very well on the coast over for the year. We on occupancy, we were the second highest in the state. And higher than the state occupancy. DeSoto County was higher than we had been.
Hey, Linda, why don't we do this when we get back on the other side? Because you're really good at capturing a lot of data, and I want to hear more about what the data is saying about the basic health of the market. So when we come back on the other side, we'll continue our conversation with Linda Hornsby, the Executive Director of the Mississippi Hotel and Lodging Association. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. I have my dear friend, I saw her in church recently. I love to see Linda out and about, the Executive Director of the Mississippi Hotel and Lodging Association. We go back a long way. We start talking about how far we go back, Linda. We're going to date ourselves dramatically.
We do.
But you're an ageless wonder, you are.
I don't know. Don't look too close.
But look, here's the reality. You guys have done a great job of capturing tons of data over the years. So you really know, the price that hotels are going for, how it compares with other years, the occupancy you were talking about a few minutes ago. But there's a lot of data, and it really does give you a sense of the health of the market, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. Because used to be, we looked at occupancy and that was the single determination. But then when you look at, if there's an area that has occupancy higher than another area, you start looking at why. And then you look at what their inventory is. And if they're underbuilt, that's a big why. They're going to higher occupancy. And then you look at their ADR and, more importantly to investors, their RevPAR. And so if they are selling rooms at less of a rate than another area, but that other area is making more money, well, that's good.
Yeah.
It's all about the revenue. And that's when you were talking about the operators, revenue managers are a part of every hotel operation today. I mean, that's who's determining the rates, that's who's determining the forecast, everything.
Yeah. So, it's a lot like you and I chatted a little bit about this before, but it's a lot the experience that people have with airline tickets and when they cost more versus when they cost less. When you look at hotel inventory, demand and other, it's the same thing too. And the extent to which you guys are able to make adjustments and discounts or no discounts or maybe even higher prices, whatever it might be, based on what the current demand is the difference between making it and not making it, isn't it?
And it exactly is. And they're doing it hourly. It used to be daily or weekly. Hourly. They'll change it, if they start seeing something bump up while somebody else is trying to figure out what caused that bump, then they respond with the rate. And so, and that's just the business. That's the nature of the business. I tell people it doesn't matter whether you're selling rooms or selling hammers. If you've got the last one in town, I can tell you're not going to discount it.
Yeah. So, if you look across coastal Mississippi, we're still building hotels, aren't we?
We are. Yeah. And good thing, we our hotel inventory is still just slightly below what it was pre-Katrina, but everything's new or renewed. Quality of our inventory is so much higher than it was because, we used to count, well, we still do count every single room if it's a place of lodging. But now a lot of those properties that we wouldn't really consider a tourism product have changed. It's all new. It's I would say 80% new or renewed.
Hey, so when are you able to look? Okay, it's interesting your point, and it's something I'm very interested in understanding. The available hotel rooms compared to pre-Katrina. You're right. I mean, there are a lot of hotels that needed to be upgraded dramatically. Maybe even some needed to be, taken down and completely rebuilt, maybe.
Right.
Katrina sort of helped us with that. But when you look at that inventory, and is there a way to also consider vacation rentals that are not hotels, and to try to get a sense of what the total number of available rooms are?
Yeah. We do not, in our inventory numbers, we do not include, only because you can't tell, you certainly can't identify the ones located in neighborhoods unless a neighbor reports them, or they do the right thing and register with, like the city of Biloxi has an actual registration process. Unless you do that, you don't know that those exist. Now, the ones that operate as a business, yes, we're able to identify those. A good example is the Biloxi Beach Resort Rentals. They probably manage more vacation rentals than all the other ones on the coast combined, and so those are easily identifiable, because those are people that have their condo units or their vacation home or whatever managed through them, and they're paying all the taxes. Great. They are and they're participating in all of the things that are important to the lodging industry.
Yeah, I love the trend in coastal Mississippi with the micro hotels. You've seen a lot of investments being made in places like downtown Ocean Springs, for example.
Wow. Yeah.
One or two in Biloxi, but you got to love that.
Yeah, it does. I used to say that nobody goes to a destination just to stay in a hotel. Well, that has changed. Number one, there's resorts, and we certainly have some wonderful resorts, both casinos and non-casino resorts. But then these little boutique properties, they represent the character of that area. And people do go there, kind of like bed and breakfast. People do go there for the character of the area.
Yeah, they really do. And look at the Condries and Joe Cloyd and a growing number of other investors and what they're doing to bring really, really first-class micro hotels to.
Yeah. And it's all about the experience. And you certainly get a good experience in going to one of those.
And what I like in their partnership, they're able to combine them all together and create a technology solution that works incredibly well for them. And that's all part of the experience. Remember when you and I worked together after Hurricane Katrina, we came to appreciate while we didn't say we were going to be a tier 1 destination resort like a Las Vegas, for example, we still wanted to understand that. We still wanted to understand what would aspiring to be bigger and better look like. And we came to appreciate there were 4 major areas. We had to have attractions. We had to have an airport. We had to have convention space, and we had to have hotel rooms. But you needed all those things to ultimately get to where we wanted to go. Decisions to build a better convention center, the decision to go forward with the capital plan for the airport. All these were tough decisions to make in the moment because we were still in the process of recovering. Yeah. And people sort of bet on the future of coastal Mississippi. The same thing is true in the hotel arena. I mean, we had the casinos rebuilding dramatically fast and hundreds of millions of dollars spent on rebuilding that sector. Yeah. And the amount of private investment that went into hotel rooms. But this is a critical part of coastal Mississippi's total tourism offering that makes us extraordinarily competitive, and we can't stay focused on it enough, can we?
Absolutely. We have to stay not up with the game, but ahead of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. Hey, listen, in the short time we have left, you and I have chatted about human trafficking offline. I've talked about it on this show a lot. It comes in so many different forms. It could be a family member in the neighborhood that you live in that is in some ways trafficking a young person. It could be the thing that we all think about with someone coming in from Mexico or Guatemala that's fallen into bad hands, and the cartels are really significantly involved in human trafficking. I mean, I think you mentioned that in some cases maybe it's more lucrative in some respects than the drug trade. So is this something the Hotel Association thinks about?
We do, and I keep it on the front burner. I'm talking about it to them, and I'll talk about it next week at our meeting. It has to be on the front burner because we are one of the arenas where it is happening, unfortunately. And we have to apprise the staff of how to spot it and what to do, because you don't want to cause that person any harm that's not already happening. And who do you notify?
Yeah. I mean, look, I know that state leaders are focused on it. We've passed some terrific legislation in this state, and the AG is focused on it. In fact, we need to get her back on to have some deeper conversations about the current situation as it relates to that. But, we just, to me, first of all, just personally, I'm saddened by the notion that anyone would be used in that kind of an industry, whatever it might be, because it comes in different forms.
Yeah.
And as we as a set of communities need to be focused on doing everything in our power to stop it.
Yeah. I have to share a story with you sometime off air. It's jaw-dropping.
Yeah, gosh, I can only imagine. You probably have heard and seen some bad stories along the way.
Yeah, we've had come to our association and share stories, and it's mind-numbing.
Well, again, human trafficking is all ages, and so I'd hate to pick anyone out, but the fact that in some of my conversations that there is a market for children within that realm. I look at my grandkids and I look at the kids that I love so much, and I think about their innocence and purity and what we should be doing. God, we should be looking out over them. The fact that that's not happening in too many cases is not acceptable. Yeah. Anyway, I know that you're going to play a big role in that. I look forward to staying in touch with you. A year, Linda. Shame on us.
I know it.
That's for sure.
We'll do that.
Oh, God bless you, my friend. Hey, listen, when we come back, we're going to visit with Carrie Duncan from WLOX. You heard her recent announcement. We're going to talk about that. We'll see you after this.